Nvidia stock is one of the best performers year to date as the stock is up over 172%. And you guys all know Nvidia is my number one position. I'm super bullish in this company. But on today's episode, I want to take a closer look at a few other semiconductor stocks that some individuals might want to take a closer look at if they felt they missed this Nvidia rush. Let's take a closer look in today's episode. All right, so the first company I wanted to take a closer look at is more an ETF, right? Not an individual company, and this is VanEck, ticker SMH. This is a semiconductor ETF, and I do want to say for any investor that wants to get into this AI craze, the semiconductor market is definitely in the forefront of it, and a semiconductor ETF, as you guys all know, is something I always am adamant about. I mean, we can take a closer look here if we look at the ticker SMH versus the Qs versus the S&P 500. Year to date, SMH has outperformed. In the past year, I want to say SMH has also outperformed. In the past 3 years, SMH constantly outperforms. In the past 5 years, it's no different. SMH continues to outperform both the Qs and the SPY. And in the past 10 years, the situation or the story is still the same. SMH, or a semiconductor ETF, continues to outperform the market. While it is true that, in my opinion, the semiconductor market is a little bit more cyclical, a little bit more volatile, their returns tend to be higher than the overall market. And that's why I personally am such a huge bull for the semiconductor space. So for anybody, like I said, looking to get into this AI craze and not sure where to kind of start off, I personally would say take a closer look at the semiconductor market ETF. There are a few. SMH is one of my favorites. SOXQ is another, but they are definitely a nice amount. Usually when I personally look for a semiconductor ETF, I'm looking for one that has very minimal holdings, usually 25 holdings, 30 or less. So VanEck, I do believe SOXQ also has roughly 25 holdings as well. All right, so what I decided to do is take a closer look at these 25 holdings. And out of these 25, I believe only 24 are actual stocks. One of them is a cash position, and kind of break them down into 3 groups. The first group are the ones that are completely outperforming this kind of ETF. The second group is the one that's kind of mimicking this ETF, and the third group is the one that's completely underperforming this ETF. That can also be some other form of buying opportunity. We'll take a closer look at that last segment on another episode if you guys want to. So today we're only going to take a closer look at the first 2 segments. So the first one is the ones that are completely outperforming this ETF. There's only 3. Nvidia, obviously that is semiconductor behemoth thanks to AI. Number 2, what doesn't come to my surprise, it is AMD. And number 3, it is Marvell. These 3 semiconductor companies are completely outperforming the semiconductor market. So for me, these are ones that maybe I don't want to keep an eye on right now, maybe ones I don't want to add on at these moments. Now, on the second segment, these are the semiconductor companies that are mimicking this ETF right now. And out of those 24, there are roughly 9. Broadcom, Lam Research, Micron Technology, Cadence, Monolithic Power System, Universal Display Corp, Applied Material, Synopsys, and ON Semiconductor. So I decided to, I want to take a closer look at this group, the ones that are currently mimicking the semiconductor market. And I kind of wanted to see which of these 9 tend to outperform the semiconductor market in the past few years. And out of those 9, I was able to get 6. Broadcom, Lam Research, Cadence System, Monolithic Power Systems, Synopsys, and ON Semiconductor. And these are the companies I want to take a closer look at. Like I mentioned, the ones completely underperforming the market, I'm going to do an episode probably tomorrow. So make sure to stay tuned. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Make sure to hit the thumbs up. And let me know in the comments below if right now any of these 6 are looking interesting to you. Also, if you want to learn more about the semiconductor market, make sure to join my membership. The link is down below, where I kind of do more of in-depth analysis on some of these semiconductor companies.
I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for the subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
So we have our 6 stocks, right? And what I wanted to do is right now we are in this period of high inflation rate, of high interest rate as well. So I want to have a company that's very, very strong in their balance sheet and cash flow from operations. On the bright news for all investors out here, all these companies are positive in cash flow from in free cash flow, which is even better. The second thing is there are a few that have really, really great balance sheets. And there are 3 that I believe are looking super, super amazing in forms of both ones that can outperform the market and are having a super healthy balance sheet. The first one is one that I feel not many people talk about, and this is Monolithic Power System, ticker MPWR. We can see free cash flow of roughly 317 million, cash and short-term investments of roughly 900 million, and listen to this, 0 long-term debt. So that's a big plus. The second one is Synopsys. Synopsys, it does have free cash flow of 1.5 billion, cash and short-term investments of roughly 1.7 billion, and roughly no debt. Total long-term debt of roughly $20 million. Number 3 comes in place with Cadence Design Systems, free cash flow of 1 billion, cash and short-term investments of 900 million, and roughly 700 million in total long-term debt. So in my opinion, these are 3 companies that have huge growth opportunity, we'll see in a bit, and a healthy balance sheet. I mean, also taking a closer look at EV to EBITDA and EV to EBITDA forward compared to their previous valuations are looking very, very interesting to me as well. So these are 3 of my favorites. For those not familiar with Monolithic Power System, this is ticker MPWR. They are a company that provides, they do mention it here, they are a semiconductor that provides semiconductor-based power electronic solutions, which are used in various markets. They kind of break down the end markets from storage and computing, enterprise data, automotive, industrial, communication, consumer. So I do believe this is a company that has very, very great solutions. Their product families are 2 main markets, and it's mainly DC to DC. So again, it kind of helps with that power solution. The next is lighting controls, and this is lighting that goes on kind of the a lot of the screens in forms of automotive, in forms of industrials, in forms of consumer goods. But their biggest product is these DC to DC products. And they kind of even talk a little bit about their market expansion here in their last investors relations website, which I believe investors presentation, which was about a year ago. And here in 2021, their serviceable addressable market was roughly 21 billion. And what really grabbed my attention are the following. First, the biggest they believe is the automotive market with 7 billion. You guys all know how I'm super bullish in the automotive space with things like EV, with autonomous driving. So I believe this is great for them. The second is motion control. Motion control tends to be like robotics, and again in the industrial market, but also in the consumer space. That is roughly 4 billion. The other big one is cloud computing, service and storage, which is another 4 billion. So just those 3 markets alone, which I personally believe are huge bullish cases for the semiconductor market, are roughly $15 billion of that total 21 billion. So I do believe this is a great player here. If we take a closer look, they do mention that, hey, in their kind of server market, they have things like CPU server boards, GPU AI servers, the overall racks, the overall data centers, and they believe the product here, and I agree, are gonna continue to grow. So this is a big play in my opinion. They kind of talk about where some other products go in the CPU motherboard, in the GPU board as well, on the racks themselves. So again, in my opinion, this is looking like a very, very strong company. They even talk about the automotive market, where some of their chips go and what kind of power solutions they are needed. So in my opinion, this is one that I personally will add into my portfolio within the next few weeks because it is looking very, very interesting. Now, if we take a closer look at the next two, they were Cadence and Synopsys. Both these companies are a bit different, where they are not really a semiconductor company, they're more of a software company. Their software is used to design semiconductors. So, we're hearing a lot from big tech. We have the companies like Microsoft, like Google, like Amazon, like Apple designing their own semiconductors. And for them to design their own semiconductors, they need to use one of these softwares, either Cadence or Synopsys. And in my opinion, both these companies are a little bit on the higher valuation side, but again, because they tend to have those higher margins that come with the software space. They also tend to be less cyclical because at the end of the day, they're not selling consumer products, they're more selling like licenses. And again, to me, the huge bullish case is where we are seeing this huge growth in semiconductor design, not only here in domestically and not only in big tech, but we're also seeing it internationally as well, as many players are trying to become the leaders here in AI chips. So as this overall movement of AI market, Cadence and Synopsys are definitely two other companies to take a closer look at. So right now, I'm not sure how many minutes we are in, but we already have 4 ideas to how to get involved into the semiconductor market. Just a quick repeat. The first is a semiconductor ETF. Ticker SMH is one that I use, or ticker SOXQ. 3 growth companies, in my opinion, that are getting hit in great markets. We have ticker MPWR. We also have Cadence System, and we also have Synopsys. Now, I want to take a closer look at two other companies outside of those 6 that I think are also pretty interesting, depending on where you want to kind of look at in the semiconductor market. So the next 3 are Lam Research, On Semiconductor, and Broadcom. I personally don't like Broadcom that much, so I'm going to just scratch that off, and I'm only going to look at Lam Research and On Semiconductor. I don't believe in forms of previous and future forward valuations, they're looking extremely cheap, but they do have some growth opportunities that maybe investors might want to look at. Overall, they are cheap compared to other semiconductor companies. We see this EV to EBITDA are in the teens. When I'm saying is they're not cheap, I mean compared to their previous valuations and compared to their normal. But Lam Research is one that it is in the semiconductor equipment process, right? They design and they create semiconductor equipment, which is very, very important. They're also a company that has a nice amount of dividend yield of roughly 1%. So you get a little bit mixture of a company with a nice balance sheet, nice cash flow, and also a nice dividend. They, like I mentioned, they provide equipment for various stages in the semiconductor market and the semiconductor manufacturing. And right now, there are a lot of growth opportunities in this phase of the semiconductor manufacturing. First is obviously things like the CHIPS Act. It's not only happening here in the United States, it's also happening globally, where a lot of countries are saying, hey, we need to start building our own chips. Well, for them to start building their own chips, what do they need? They need equipment. So I think really big winners for this kind of domestic chips war that we're seeing all around the world are going to be semiconductor equipment companies, and Lam Research is one that's going to go there. The second thing that's going to happen, though, is there is this huge shift happening with how semiconductors or advanced semiconductors like AI chips are going to be manufactured in the future. And they are going to be created by this process called gate-all-around. And this is a whole new market and a whole new opportunity. Lam Research definitely has the products that can help with this new turnaround on the way chips are going to be produced for advanced AI. So again, there's 2 growth opportunities. There's that kind of domestic and that chips war happening, but there's also kind of this change happening in the ways that chips are manufactured or are going to be manufactured in the next few years. So 2 growth opportunities there. The next one we have is On Semiconductor. Here we have ticker ON. This is a company that's very, very that provides solutions for the automotive and the industrial market. Again, like you guys know, I'm very bullish in both automotive and industrial, as we're seeing things like autonomous, as we're seeing things like smart vehicles and electrification. So here on their website, you can see all the different automotive solutions that they hit. For example, they have DC to DC converters, they have sensing products, they have viewing sensors, they have again more power solutions as well for the automotive industry. They also talk of how they provide things for the energy and the industrial market as well. We can see in their most recent earnings, Q1 2023 revenue, 79% of total revenue was dependent on automotive and industrial, and that was up roughly 22.6% year over year. So to me, these are companies that maybe might not be in the greatest valuations right now, but definitely do have great opportunities. I do enjoy both of them as well. So I think that's all I have for you guys right now. Like I mentioned, later this week, probably tomorrow, I will be looking at the semiconductor companies that are completely underperforming the semiconductor ETF. And we're going to try to find some pretty cool ones that maybe some investors might want to look at. So make sure to subscribe, make sure to stay tuned, take care, have a good day, and see you all next time.